Good Monday morning to you this morning. We had just a glorious day of worshiping yesterday at our church service with music, looking at the Word. First Sunday of the month is also our Mission Emphasis Sunday, and we chatted with some missionaries from Papua New Guinea. We had chatted earlier. We recorded it and showed it yesterday. So it was a glorious day, and just so what an awesome truth. He is risen, just as he said. Now go tell, go tell. That's every follower of Jesus who heard that news on that day went and told, and certainly that's our responsibility as well. The devotion yesterday, the daily devotion. Remember, looked at Mary Magdalene there from John chapter 20, and that was interesting, what she experienced. And again, so many of these are representative of our own experiences with the Lord, trying to figure out what the fullness of the truth is. Today it's the Emmaus Walk, and I love this one just because we talked about this yesterday in the sermon, the irony that's in a lot of this. Mary Magdalene mistakes Jesus for the gardener and wants to know, do you know where they've laid the body? Asking Jesus that question, kind of crazy, right? So these guys are kind of the same. They're going to ask some crazy questions. The two on the road to Emmaus. The Emmaus Walk is what is the title of this. The suggested reading is Luke 24. Luke 24, 13 to 35. That's the Emmaus Road experience here. And the quote is from verse 35. Then the two told what had happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. The walk to Emmaus, a village 7 or 8 miles northwest of Jerusalem, is one of the most vivid of Easter stories. It took place during the afternoon of Easter Day. One disciple is identified as Cleopas. The other may well have been his wife. We're not sure. As they walked, they talked about the amazing events that had taken place in Jerusalem recently, and as they talked, the risen Jesus joined them. Notice what Luke tells us about their eyes. According to verse 16, their eyes were kept from recognizing him. According to verse 31, their eyes were opened and they recognized him. The question is, what happened to make the difference? And how can our eyes be opened as theirs were? Firstly, we can know Christ through the scriptures. Jesus reproved them for being so slow to believe the prophets, and then he took them through the 3 main divisions of the Old Testament, the law, the prophets, and the Psalms. That's in verse 44. Explaining their teaching about the sufferings and glory of the Messiah. As Jesus had said earlier, the scriptures bear witness to me, John 5:39. And so we need to look for Christ in all the scriptures. As we do so, our hearts will burn within us. Secondly, we can know Christ through the breaking of bread. The Emmaus disciples may have seen the scars in his hands or recognized his voice. But it seems more likely that those 4 verbs Luke uses rang a bell in their memory, that he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and gave it to them. It was then that their eyes were opened and they knew him. As they said later, Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread, which we've already read. Many Christians have testified to a similar experience. One example is John Wesley's mother, Susanna. When the words of administration were spoken to her one day, she confessed The word struck through my heart, and I knew God, for Christ's sake, had forgiven me all my sins. Here then are two major ways by which Cleopas and his companion came to recognize the risen Lord, and by which we know him today, through the scriptures and through the breaking of bread, through the word and the sacrament. I find it interesting. One of the ironic questions they asked Jesus that day as they're walking, as they're explaining things, and Jesus is asking questions, they say to Jesus, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who does not know what happened in these last few days?" Jesus is the only one who really knows what has happened. I just find it interesting, and I said this yesterday. We like to paint some of these Bible characters as superheroes. The Peters and the Pauls and the Jameses and the Johns and all of that. And back in the Old Testament, these are just regular people who struggle like we struggle, who can't figure things out sometimes, just like we can't figure things out sometimes. And even though we've been told something, not sure about that. I love that about Resurrection Day, because what that says to me, here's a group of people who didn't really buy into what they were seeing with their own two eyes, let alone what other people were saying to them about what they had experienced. So they had to be convinced. And the convincing was they saw Jesus alive. They saw the mark still in his hand, still in his side. And they believed. And they believed. But Jesus says, more blessed are those who haven't seen and yet believe. Oh, he is risen. We don't just celebrate that on one day. Hopefully we can celebrate that on every day. Every day we draw a breath, that reality. He is risen indeed. Amen. Those two persons on the road to Emmaus got a personal visit. It'd be great, wouldn't it? Just look out for Jesus today, because as often as we see the least of these around us, Jesus may be there. Blessings to you today.